more for you, you feel it. You know it. This is your life, and it's time to go from contender to champion. This is The Show with John Madsen.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm your host, John Madsen. This is The Show. Super excited to be here with you today. If you like this show, please go to the iTunes, leave me a 5-star review. It's truly appreciated, and it helps other people find the show. So if you wouldn't mind doing that today, hit the iTunes button, find the show, and please leave me a 5-star review. Or if you think the show sucks, leave it a 1-star review. But either way, I appreciate all of your feedback, and I appreciate all of the support from the show. In addition to that, if you like this episode or any of the previous ones, screenshot it, tag me at John Madsen Official on Instagram, and let me know what you liked about that episode. I love to hear your thoughts. If you have topics you want me to talk about, slide into those DMs and ask me to talk about them. A lot of the topics that I get are from users that want me to talk about certain things pertaining to their own lives. Now today's episode, we're going to go down a little road in terms of mindset. I'm going to talk about 5 mindset killers. If you're a high performer and you want to produce at a high fucking level, these 5 things will kill your productivity, they'll kill your happiness, and they'll kill your energy. High performers, you guys listening to this show, desire productivity. You desire more money. You desire more fitness. You understand that how you look is a statement about you. Now, people want fitness. People want money. People want whatever they want. A lot of times, for a lot of the same reasons. And what I mean by that is I've done dozens and dozens and dozens of breakthroughs, because one of the first things I do when I work with a client is get to the root of what they fucking want. Because so many of you out there, if I asked you that question, what do you want? You'll give me a laundry list of what you don't want. You don't know what you want. So let's just say you want more fitness or more money. And if I take whatever you say you want and I ask you why enough, I've done a whole episode on this, but if I ask you why enough, in the beginning, you're going to give me real surface stuff. In the end, if I keep digging enough, I'm going to come to the real reason, the root. And the root is a lot of times very similar from person to person to person. It's going to sound something like, I want more happiness. I want more joy. I want more connection. I want more love. I want more growth. I want more freedom. At the root of it, a lot of us want the same things. But in order to truly get there, we have to produce. We have to produce the result. We can think about this shit all day. And if you haven't listened to my last episode, I believe in the law of attraction. I believe in the power of intention. I believe in manifesting that is what you want. But at the same time, you are what you do. Wanting it, thinking about it, isn't enough. You are what you do. So that means your behaviors are going to determine your outcome. But if you have shit behaviors, you're always going to get shit outcome. Champions behave like champions. Championship teams behave like championship teams. Championship employees behave like championship employees. Shit employees behave like shit employees. It's your behavior. And how do we predict behavior? Behavior is going to be determined by what type of emotional state we live in. So how do we control that emotional state? How do we become 100% of the time, most of the time, in a resourceful state? And when we're not in a resourceful state, how do we switch into it? And more importantly, this episode is not about adding stuff to your routine. It's about cutting the bullshit out. So sometimes if you think about a car has reverse, neutral, forward, right? Obviously, it has other gears, but think about it in terms of reverse, normal, forward. If you're doing shitty behaviors, or if you're doing behaviors that you don't even know are shitty, which we're going to discuss here in this episode, and you're finding that you're not getting the result, how do we simply go from reverse to neutral? Because that's a jump all of us can do. Going from reverse straight into forward is sometimes hard. In order to move forward, sometimes we just got to stop the bullshit first, and you're going to notice a ton of improvement as far as productivity, as far as your energetic state, all of the things that matter. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm not going to give you things to add to your day like I've done so in the past. I'm simply going to tell you what to fucking remove so that you can produce like the high performer you are. So these are the 5 mindset killers. 5 mindset killers that are killing your productivity. They're killing and stealing from your joy and happiness. And they're putting you out of the resourceful state and into a shit state. And this could not be more important than today, because we are getting bombarded by some of this stuff. So the very first thing I want you to cut out, the very, very first thing I want you to commit to, and I just want you to try this experiment for the next 7 days. If you think I'm bullshitting and you don't want to agree with what I'm about to say, I challenge you to do this for 7 days, and then I challenge you to write to me and tell me what difference it didn't make. And I think that you're going to be wildly surprised that if you do these 5 things, if you cut this bullshit out, you're going to produce at a level you haven't produced at in years or in your entire life. So number 1, guys, is no more national news. If you need to watch local news and follow sports teams, which there aren't a lot of sports going on right now because we're sitting at the end of May and there's still sports shut down for the COVID disaster. If you have to watch local news just to get a touch of what's going on locally and follow local sports teams, cool. Cut out national news. 100% cut that shit out. Because what's happening, it doesn't matter which channel you're listening to. What's happening is they're programming you. And they're putting into your focus, your perception, what they want you to be aware of, which isn't going to help you at all. At all. And I know the drive is strong. I know you want to flip on CNN or Fox News and you want to get the news. You want to know what's going on. You want to know what the president is saying. But if you watch more than 20 minutes of that bullshit every single day, it is going to have immense negative impact. I've never watched one of those channels for a long period of time and didn't get somewhat triggered about something going on. It is gloom and doom. They want you to be afraid as fuck about your kids getting abducted, the world ending, the pandemic killing off every single person. Everything on there is gloom and doom. Why do they do that? Because ratings are through the roof. If it bleeds, it leads. They've known this shit for a long time. My wife was a news anchor here in Salt Lake City for a decade. They used to say that shit in the rooms. If it bleeds, it leads. The headlines are fucking ridiculous. Without context. They're throwing out big numbers, just giving you cherry-picked fucking studies and stories. High producers cannot let their minds be programmed in a negative way if they want to produce. One of the biggest things that you can do today is to cut that bullshit out. Cut it out. Cut it out for 7 days. See how you feel. I promise you, the sun's going to keep coming up. 7 days is going to come to an end. And everything you thought you missed, you didn't really miss at all. So the very first thing, again, we're not telling you to add anything to your routine. Simply cut some shit out. The first thing you're going to cut out is national news. I promise you, try it. 7 days. Cut that shit out. Number 2, music. This one's a big one, guys. And it's funny because as I think back to growing up and when you're in that impressionable age, and sometimes this goes on forever, nobody ever figures it out. But you like the music you think you should like based on what your friends like, based on what's cool. You start listening to bullshit because that would be what the cool kids listen to. You might not even like that shit. I remember going through high school and thinking that, wow, I need to get some of this rap stuff because that's the cool thing. When I get in my friend's car, they like it. I didn't even really like it, but I tried to force myself to like it. Think about whether or not you really like it, but that's not the point of this. Whether you like it or not is irrelevant. The truth is the truth. Music is programming you too. Everything that we hear is seeping into our unconscious. Our unconscious drives 95% of our behaviors. 95% of what we do each and every day is unconscious. We're running a loop. Almost like Westworld, we're running a fucking loop. Meaning the behaviors that we think we're choosing aren't really being chosen by us. They're programmed. We have to be very, very careful what seeps into our unconscious. Music, the type of music you listen to, you may think is doing you good, and it could very well be programming negative states, getting you from resourceful to unresourceful. You have to be very aware. This is about the beat, right? This is about the beat. You can have an energetic beat, but it's about the fucking words. Rap, heavy metal, sad-ass country music, talking about losing everything, losing money. You know the joke about country music, if you play it in reverse, you get your wife back, your dog back, your car back. It's fucking true. And for some reason, people connect to this bullshit. But you have to understand that people connect to this bullshit because 97% of motherfuckers aren't high performers. What the fuck are you listening to? Start listening to inspiring shit. Music that has that positive pull. This is documented. There's a book that'll blow your fucking mind. Power versus Force. Everything you read, everything you listen to has a pull, negative or positive. Be fucking careful what you allow yourself to listen to and allow yourself to watch. I haven't even talked about TV other than the news, but this goes for the TV shows you watch, the movies you watch. But right here, point number 2 is music, because you're not thinking about this. You just put your fucking headphones in, think that you're not really listening, but all that shit is fucking going straight to your unconscious. Start listening to some positive shit for 7 days and see what happens. Number 3, gossipers, complainers. You are your environment. If your friends complain and gossip and think rich people are lucky and think that fit people are lucky and think that fit people have better genetics and they want to talk about all the shit that's going wrong in their life, that is contagious. If you think the fucking coronavirus is contagious, what do you think about a person's attitude? That's the most contagious fucking disease out there. If you want to be lifted up, you can tell when you're around those people who lift you up, who when you are done talking to them, you feel energy. It's like you just plugged your cell phone in and you're at 100% battery level. And the opposite is also true. Gossipers and complainers, you spend 30 minutes with those people, spend 30 minutes with them on the phone, your battery goes from 100 to 0, dead. You are the sum total of the top 5 people you hang out with and spend your time with. Sometimes it's hard. If your family is negative, if they gossip, if they complain, you got to remove yourself from that situation. I just want you to try this shit for 7 days. No national news, no bullshit music. Cut out the people in your life who are constantly gossiping and complaining. Number 4, don't say dumb shit to yourself. This is documented too. I can't remember the study, but Every person you know has an influence on you. And depending on how much influence you give to that person, they can influence you more. But we're constantly having conversations with ourselves. The most important conversation that you have on a daily basis is with yourself. You influence yourself 10 times more powerfully than any influence by any other person. So you already know when other people talk down to you, put you down, break your confidence, do whatever, that's powerful. But when you talk shit to yourself, it's 10 times as powerful. What you say to yourself, what you think to yourself is 10 times more powerful than the influence another person has on you. So for 7 days, we're going to stop talking shit to ourselves. Stop it. And then point number 5, stop saying dumb shit out loud. Because if we can influence ourselves with 10 times the power of somebody else, you can multiply that 10 by another 10 if you say that shit out loud. This blew my mind. It blew my mind. And 2 stories that blew my mind are from the sporting world. Bill Buckner, famous Red Sox first baseman, 19 days before he lost the World Series when a routine ground ball went through his legs. Bill Buckner he had a Hall of Fame career. And he ended up being one of the most hated men in Boston because he cost the Red Sox the World Series. 19 days before that happened, in an interview, he said, "The dream is to hit a home run to win the World Series. My nightmare is to let a routine ground ball go through my legs and lose the World Series." He said that shit. He said that shit, and 19 days later, in Game 7, I think it was Game 7, ground ball routine that he would never miss in a million years goes through his legs and he loses the World Series for his team. That shit was on his mind. He said it out loud. His words, like I've said in multiple podcasts, his words are the most powerful thing that he can use. How crazy is that? Another story, Pete Maravich, Pistol Pete. I might get this quote wrong, but he was being interviewed and he said he didn't want to play in the NBA for 10 years and die of a heart attack when he was 40. He said that. I'll look it up. I want to look it up. I'm going to share it on my social media, but he said that. I don't know why he said that, but he said that. Pistol Pete played 10 years in the NBA and died of a heart attack when he was 40. Or right around 40. Maybe he wasn't 40, but he was right around 40. Did he give himself a heart attack? Who knows? But he said dumb shit. Maybe not always, but he said dumb shit about that. So when people talk about the disease and they talk about everything, for 7 days, don't say dumb shit out loud. Because sometimes you think it and you're like, how can I not think it? Well, here's the thing. Try not to think it. We'll give you tools to not think about it later. But at the very worst, don't fucking say it. Do not say it. So again, to wrap this thing up, the 5 things that I want you to stop doing for at least 7 days, and hopefully it has such a profound impact, you do this shit for as long as possible. Number 1 is no more national news. 7 days, don't watch it. You're not going to miss out. Sun's going to come up, 7 days later, you ain't going to miss shit. Number 2, music. Think about what you're listening to. You might think that you like rap. You might think that that's just what you do. You might think that heavy metal is what you do. Really cut that out for 7 days. Start listening to some inspiring stuff. Number 3, gossipers, complainers, get rid of them. Number 4, don't say dumb shit to yourself. And number 5, whatever you do, do not say dumb shit out loud. Guys, for 7 days, we're simply going from reverse to neutral. Reverse to neutral. Because when we're in neutral, now we can add and go forward. But sometimes just stopping the behavior that you might not be thinking about, just stopping that sabotaging behavior can make the world of difference. Try this for 7 days. Share this with a friend. After 7 days, hit me up on Instagram and tell me how this experiment went for you. I can't wait to hear it.
Thank you so much for joining us for another amazing episode of The Show with John Madsen. The greatest compliment that you could give us is liking, loving, and sharing this episode with all of your friends. So please go to iTunes, leave us a 5-star rating and review, and then share it online with everyone that you know. Make sure to tag John as well. He loves to hear from listeners of the show. The links for all of his socials and iTunes are in the show notes. Also, if you'd like to engage John for anything related to his coaching, consulting, or programs, please visit johnmadsen.com for everything you'd need to know on how to engage with John offline. And lastly, thank you for your time, your attention, and your consideration. This is The Show.